The Boston Celtics have a rising star that rivals are starting to take notice of, and it's not who you might expect. With a season filled with impressive performances, one player has caught the attention of a Bucks forward who just dropped some serious praise on him. If you've been following the Celtics, you know the competition is fierce, but this recognition from a rival could change everything for this underrated guard. Stay tuned to find out who it is and how he's reshaping the Celtics roster. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to stay updated on all things Celtics. Hey Celtics fans, today I want to dive into some exciting news coming out of the rivalry between our Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. As you all know, this matchup has been heating up in recent seasons, and it's not just about the games. It's about the respect and recognition that players give each other. Recently, Bucks forward Thanasis Antetokounmpo made some waves with his comments about one of our own, Payton Pritchard. In a recent podcast episode, Thanasis was asked which player he would choose to have off the Celtics roster. You'd expect him to mention the big names: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, maybe even Kristaps Porzingis or Drew Holiday. But no, he singled out Payton Pritchard. Think about that for a moment. A player who isn't even a starter, yet he's the one that caught the eye of a rival player. Thanasis called Payton so underrated and highlighted his relentless work ethic and love for the game. That's some serious praise coming from a player on the other side of this fierce rivalry. What does this say about Payton's impact? This season, he's been phenomenal, averaging 16.1 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.9 assists per game while shooting an impressive 43% from beyond the arc. I mean, those numbers are not just good. They're sixth man of the year caliber. He solidified his role and brought a spark off the bench that's crucial for our team's success. When the starters aren't firing on all cylinders, Payton is that guy who steps up and delivers. And let's be real, in the intense atmosphere of the Eastern Conference, having a player like Pritchard can make all the difference in the world. Now, I know some of you might be feeling mixed about this recognition. On one hand, it's fantastic to see our players getting the respect they deserve from rivals. But on the other hand, it also puts more pressure on them to keep performing at this high level. You believe this was the best decision to keep Payton in his current role? I honestly feel a bit divided. While I love what he brings to the table, I can't help but think about how deep our roster is and how that can sometimes overshadow a player's contributions. Payton's emergence really has transformed our Celtics into a more formidable force. The depth we have this season gives us an edge, especially when it comes to playoff time. Every little bit counts, and having a player who can consistently deliver off the bench is invaluable. It's not just about talent, it's about chemistry and how these guys fit together on the court. And with Pritchard stepping up, it allows Tatum and Brown to focus on their game without carrying the entire offensive burden. So, what do you think? Is this the right path for our Celtics? Are we witnessing the rise of Payton Pritchard as a key player in our playoff run? I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about this. Have you been as impressed with him as I have? What do you think the future holds for Payton and the Celtics? Payton Pritchard is making waves in the fantasy basketball world. And as a die-hard Boston Celtics fan, I can't help but feel excited about his recent performances. With his current roster percentage sitting at 55.1% in ESPN leagues, it's clear that more and more fantasy managers are recognizing his value. Pritchard has been on fire from beyond the arc, currently ranking 5th in the league for made three-pointers. Just think about that for a second. The fact that he's out shooting guys like Jason Tatum is remarkable. It's not just a flash in the pan. He's proving he can sustain this high-volume output. I mean, who would have thought we'd be saying that just a month ago? The Celtics have carved out a clear role for him. And I can't help but wonder, could he really finish in the top 10 for three-pointers this season? It's definitely a possibility, and I'm all in on Pritchard right now. Then there's Herbert Jones. Now, I know he might not be the loudest player on the court, but his contributions can't be overlooked, especially on the defensive end. With 22.3% rostered in ESPN leagues, he's a bit of a sleeper pick, and I think it's time we start waking up to his potential. Jones is a perimeter stopper who rakes in steals and blocks, making him a valuable asset for those looking to boost their defensive stats. His stealthy contributions often get overshadowed, but if you look closely, his stats mirror those of elite defenders like OG Anunoby. I genuinely believe that if we can integrate more players like Jones into our fantasy squads, it could really elevate our chances of winning. Speaking of impact, let's take a moment to appreciate what's happening in the Celtics backcourt. With the team still adjusting to Chris Paul's presence, the emergence of Stephon Castle as a complementary playmaker has been refreshing. Castle's versatility is becoming more valuable, especially with his impressive steals and blocks per game. As he gains more confidence and experience, I can see him taking on a larger role, particularly during games when Paul is resting. Will he become a fantasy star? Only time will tell, but I'm definitely intrigued by the possibilities. And how about Malik Monk? He's been on fire for the Kings, showing off his scoring prowess and defensive capabilities. With his roster percentage skyrocketing to 61.9%, I'm sure he's on the radar for many fantasy players. Monk's recent performance puts him among the top 25 fantasy players, and if the Celtics face off against the Kings, I wouldn't be surprised if he gives us a run for our money. It's these kinds of matchups that fuel the excitement of the season. But here's the burning question. Can the Celtics contain Monk when the time comes? Now let's talk about the power forward position. Santi Aldama has emerged as a versatile playmaker for the Grizzlies, and with a roster percentage of 62.7%, he's becoming a hot commodity. I'm intrigued by how his style of play might influence matchups against the Celtics. Will he create mismatches? And if we're talking about Rui Hachimura, the Lakers have a tough time keeping up with his rebounding and defensive efforts. He's not someone I'm particularly worried about, but let's be honest, every little bit counts in this league. Finally, we can't forget about centers Goga Bitadze and Nick Richards. Both have been stepping up amidst injury woes for their respective teams. With Bitadze's rim protection and Richards' rebounding, these players are proving to be valuable in specific matchups. But do they pose a real threat to the Celtics? I think it's crucial to keep an eye on them, especially when our guys face off against the Magic or the Hornets. As we look ahead, I genuinely believe the Celtics have the pieces for a successful season, but it's going to take strategic decisions and a little bit of luck. I'm curious to hear what you all think about these recent developments. Do you believe these moves are paving the way for a deep playoff run? Or are there other players you think we should be focusing on? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for all the latest Celtics news. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you won't miss a single update. Let's keep this Celtics community growing.